good news is that they did say they are considering doing more of these, right?
Yeah, if everyone tunes in, everyone likes it.
Yep.
And now we just had Okubo, as you know,
on.
our producer for Soul Calibur 6.
You said it looked like you're in a tie-dye shirt. That might be the Soul Calibur shirt.
It looks like it, the Soul Edge and
color.
the Soul Calibur colors. Obviously Harada.
Yeah.
He said he's blurred out the background, but it's from his house.
Yeah, he says he's at home, right? Some people, like you see SNK's at the studio.
Yeah. So just kind of mention, you know, what I was just talking about with you about how this whole thing came about.
Right. So they said they were asking people, like, so trying to figure out who do we invite? Who do we invite? Right. Who do we invite to this kind of gathering? Right. Because there's so many people involved. So they're kind of cracking jokes here.
And people maybe don't get the gravity of the situation, you know, like Western devs, maybe they can just decide themselves, hey, dude, let's do a stream, but that's not how it's done in Japan. To get all these companies on board and to have
very strict out here, right?
them allow it, this is, you know, really something special.
And then Yasuda, he's going to be one of the MCs of the event, right, down here.
Along with Fuhi-san, I believe, as well, right?
Yeah, Fui's the one that you hear talking right now.
Cool.
So yeah, self-introductions are over, and they're going to show up the time schedule right now, so let's see. So from 9:15,
we got the roundtable discussion, right? And he's just explaining what Juna said about we gathered these on Twitter beforehand.
And then from 10 is the announcements. So we had rehearsal last night. I got spoiled on some of them, but all I'll say is definitely stick around and definitely get on Twitter. And when this is over, people are going to go crazy.
But this stuff's been locked down, you know. We haven't even seen a lot of it, right?
I got spoiled yesterday. I was like,
just that one. But
all right, so I think a little bit, you know, it's supposed to start at 15, but a little bit early. They're going to start the talk show.
Okay.
So they're taking the questions off Twitter.
So now it seems like we're proceeding.
Thank you, everybody, for the self-introductions. They said they took some of the questions from English as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's not just Japanese questions. Some of you guys from overseas get your questions involved in here.
Yeah, Yasuda, I don't know. You guys can't tell probably, but he's got this like really thick Kansai dialect.
The other thing that they also mentioned earlier is that, you know, since Mike also kind of brought it up, is that there's all these different companies, right? So if one company is okay with something, but another company is not, they can't really discuss this kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, so we have to find a topic that everybody involved can discuss and share their opinions on. So that's what he's mentioning. We're trying to decide which questions to pick here.
Yeah, I mean, it really is so much going into coordinating all of this, so including the questions and what they're going to talk about.
We are used to the West a little bit more wild. You know, you get a little bit more like free to speak here, but it's still quite strict out here.
But you know, I did feel that they picked some really fair questions this time, so we'll see.
Obviously, only 5, so not every question that people want. I know there's some big ones that people really want that might not get touched on this one, but hopefully, again, if you guys can keep the reception, say, I like this kind of content, please bring us more, they can do it again and maybe hit them up. But anyway, here we go. They said each question they're going to do about like 8 minutes or so they're going to discuss.
Yep. We don't have a raising hand button either, so we'll see how this works, right? So now he's saying, yeah, there we go, the English, right? Selection of roster characters.
So they're going to start with Capcom, but you've experienced with this as well, right?
Oh yeah,
You've been involved with picking some characters.
Yeah, and we've kind of, Harada and I have been pretty vocal about that. Comes up on Comic-Con panels, etc. Okay. So now just talk about listening to
the user feedback,
but also think about their user base and try to kind of discern what kind of taste they would like. And now
Harada's gonna. I feel like Harada's gonna turn into.
He's putting him on the spot, right? He's like, okay.
I feel like Harada. Yeah, oh, he's telling him. Good. He heard your request. So raise your hand when you talk, right here, so we can see.
So we got Matsumoto-san here.
Yeah. Yeah. So the one thing about Street Fighter that he's mentioning that compared to some other games is that Street Fighter's been around for, I don't know, 30 plus years.
Yes, yes.
So they have a lot of
35 maybe.
yeah,
I think,
there are
right?
a lot of
Yeah.
very classic, very iconic characters there.
A large pool they have to choose from, right?
So they're talking about how Street Fighter doesn't just take classic characters, but also characters from other series in the Capcom, like Final Fight and things like that.
Even now, he's touched on something we also take into consideration, and that's the martial art, and also the nationality of the character.
Yeah. I know Harada's talked about that a lot, right? You want to make sure the character is liked in that country, but also does justice, right? I know with Shaheen, he talked a lot about it.
And like us as well, he was talking about trying to not have as many characters in the same vein to have a lot of variety there. And then other characters that might be a good format to try new mechanics or new
gameplay
ideas,
and stuff. So like let's try and have the development team come up with new ideas, new mechanics, and keep pushing the genre forward here.
Now he's talking about his Street Fighter's close to the real world. I think he's talking about locations, right?
Yeah, he's saying too that Street Fighter, every game is different. So you have, like Arxis games, which are very anime, very like kind of fantasy inspired. But Street Fighter is very close to kind of reality. Even though they're doing fireballs and everything, kind of takes place in the real world. So
yeah,
they want to have
World Warriors, and you had that map where the airplane kind of goes to a different location in between fights, right?
So when they're deciding characters, they got to try and keep a character that's a little bit more realistic, rather than like we're not going to put it, even though they have Blanca, but like we're not going to throw like a dinosaur man out there. Who's talking now?
So now who do we have talking?
Put your hand. It must be Fuhi. Fuhi's talking.
Okay,
I guess,
yeah. We don't see anyone.
I was like, raise your hand, dude.
Let's talk about the game system changes quite drastically from different installments, and so also with the planned system for whatever installment they're working on, which characters might blend well with that.
Right. So like Street Fighter 5 has its own game design. So maybe you might want your favorite character from an older Street Fighter. They're saying that character might not fit with the Street Fighter 5 game design, and they don't want to change him so much. So
that's like they're saying, it's like one of the things they consider in regards to many, right?
More and more and more. What I want to know is how much does Twitter get involved? Because whenever I see these guys on Twitter, they're asking like, give me this, give me that, give me this, give me that. Do you have any insight? How often do you guys listen to the Twitter monsters?
Rod and I are probably on one end of the spectrum where we're quite in tune with what they're saying. Okubo-san maybe somewhat like that. I'm not sure about the other producers.
They just said the users, right? I want to hear social media.
And obviously, there's differences in how much English that each of these producers can comprehend directly as well, right? Harada, being an MMORPG guy himself, playing with foreign players for a long time, understands quite a bit of English, actually. And now he's talking, Harada just mentioned about he believes Street Fighter, the opinions differ depending on which installment that player base got into the series,
game is
right?
So old, right? So people that were with the original, people that started with 5, right? They might have different what they think is cool or what kind of character should be in the game.
So just saying, like, if you do a poll to ask opinions about characters, it's kind of hard to see because you don't know which player generation that is, right?
Yeah, and the other thing too is it's going to be younger players, right?
Yeah.
Usually the younger players, the guys more socially connected.
You try to get everyone else to join.
And the internet, those guys are going to mash on the poll, right? The old men don't know what they're doing.
Another thing he's mentioned is kind of funny. We see this a lot where you'll get a particular character that's like stands out on the polls online, right?
Yeah.
But then if you actually release it, it's
No
not
one.
as well compared to the other characters sales-wise, right?
Biking.
Yeah, we won't mention names. And then Matsumoto-san's also mentioning how we kind of think too that you take it as one ingredient, right, to your decision.
Yeah.
And if it matches up to what you perceive the play race wants, then it's just one like thing to kind of test that theory, but it's not like the deciding factor in itself. And Rada also explaining, as we often say for our
I think they're gonna announce Tekken World Tour
but we also take the
is
background
coming
data,
back
research,
because
etc.
for Bandai Namco,
It's a hard
there's an
question, right? 'Cause
esports
there's no answer,
representative.
right?
Right.
There's a trillion different things that come in there. I wonder if we're going to hear from the other producers as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can jump in. You know, it's kind of hard to grab the mic from Harada sometimes, right?
I know.
Now he's
I
talking
see it.
about
I got it
this
on.
is another topic we often
I know.
touch on that player usage and popularity is not necessarily the same thing, right?
So
All I want is a rival school's representative for Street Fighter V. Just put a rival school's character
So he's like, some characters,
in the
because
fucking
they're strong in the
they
game,
use more
new
often, right?
season.
Used more often. It doesn't mean they're
You don't even have to give me a new
popular,
game.
It's just more people are going to play that character because, you know, they have a very high win percentage there. So gathering like concrete data is very, very difficult is what they're saying.
And Makoto. Give me a rival school's character and Makoto.
He's talking about Shake, the Salmon, when we had our poll for
When was
what
that?
kind of
And I will be
player.
happy.
Maybe 2 years ago. This is like something I heard when I first joined the team, but way long ago. They had
And I don't know why
Salmon
DOA
character
is there.
that
Salmon the fish?
He was bouncing on the stage, right?
Okay.
And he got, you know, he didn't make the final cut way back when, but Harada put it in just to see, right? And also, there was a data point in the game that
Watched them
someone,
announce DOA
they
6
reverse
is
engineered
now
and they found the
free.
data for it, right?
Completely.
So he's like, maybe it's not a good idea for Tekken to have Shake in
maybe-
there.
If he could find a deal.
Maybe I shouldn't have a fish in a 2D fighting game.
Watch them do
There's
that.
a praying mantis as well.
I mean, you guys put it in dinosaurs and fighting kangaroos, right? I think it's not too weird. So he's like, how's it gonna
We're gonna
fight?
get the Grand Blue character
Slide.
reveal. I know
Fish
that.
fight, Rada's saying, in like a 2D fighting game.
People are complaining about Zafina not being able to hear her, right? Imagine a fish lying on the ground. He's gonna have to stomp or use
People
Paul's like
complaining
down
about
punch,
a lot of
right?
stuff, man. I feel now is not a time for Rada. Don't bring
Supposed to
back
get a
the
lot
Sam. We don't need it.
from
no Sammy,
Arceus.
please.
And then
I'm trying to
SNK,
have a peaceful Twitter
the
account at the
Sam Show next character, and possibly KOF,
It's kinda
but
hard to answer after
highly
that, right?
unlikely.
Capcom
We're
gave
gonna
you,
see
like, every
KOF here.
possible answer. Now he's asking the other people, what do you guys think? They're gonna say the same. Yeah, they're all like, yeah, it's about the same.
So
Oh, there you go. They mentioned, so Koei Tecmo was a little bit, they said, you know, we take everything that Capcom
I
said,
mean,
we
I'm
run with
expecting
what we
announcements,
want,
but nothing
right?
too
These are characters
big.
that we
They're not
wanna
gonna announce a
make,
game.
as well as characters that fit in the story, like we design them. Yeah. And then after they come up with the idea of the
No,
base, the
what's
marketing team
good?
was like, what kind of character should we make actually? Like, what would
like
be good for the
back
game?
What up, man?
setting, right?
Yeah, where should they come from? What country?
What up?
So that's kind of like a little bit reverse of what I thought, right? They make the character first, then like kind of the design and the story after. I thought it'd be kind of the opposite, but marketing is important.
Now they're talking about hold.
Literally the only game, if it's announced,
Shimbori
that
is-
I'm
is-
expecting
right?
to be announced, even though it's highly unlikely. MVC HD.
They're talking about a
Yeah,
character.
they announced that one.
He was talking about a character
VC
before
collection.
that he was forced to
Yeah,
cosplay.
Like, that's the only thing. The only thing I could see likely. Even though it's highly unlikely.
We gotta be careful here.
So he's like, if you're talking about dead or alive, right? Dead or alive.
It's all
It's
about
like-
the cute girls,
yeah,
right?
He's like, what kind of characters you want? He's like, well, Dead or Alive series, it's all about the girls. Cute girls like there is what everybody wants. He knows his audience, I guess.
But max bet 500 gift subs if Tifa is announced for Tekken 7.
Oof.
The tension.
I know he did 1,000 gift subs if
Something
they
around Virtua
Yeah.
5.
announced a new Marvel or there of anything Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then he was thinking, you know, Dead or
Like,
Alive 5 at the same
They
time.
both had
Let's
5. So
do
I-
something cool together, yeah.
If they announce a Tekken character,
Yeah,
And he
because
also,
or a few Tekken characters, the only
had
one
Shibuya
I'm hoping
White,
for Tekken related is
Steve
June.
SNK as well.
and then Dead or Alive 5.
Anything else could be
I
guess.
think it was Akira, right? I think they had
Yeah.
Akira from Virtua Fighter. So that's how they decided on the guest character. Was like
I don't
these put
mind if
together.
it's Jun
Like a
and
little
like
bit of
3 guest
competitive,
characters.
rivalry here.
I need a Yakuza representative.
So, yeah, they gotta be strong and cute.
Mhm.
That's their one of their
I
criteria.
would want Kunimitsu.
He's like, if you make it
the
like any good
Kunoichi
cast
girl.
taken as guest characters by the DOA series.
The chick was
Tekken.
basically Master Raven.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, the only reason why I don't see her being in it or fucking Raven coming back is because Master Raven is both of those characters put together.
Running franchises as well, you must have lots of requests.
Same reason why
especially
Bruce
from,
isn't coming
the
back,
China
because there's
area,
Josie and now Fuck Your
East Asia.
Mom, so there's no reason to put Bruce in the game.
These legacy series. I mean,
Yeah.
basically
What's it
every
fuck?
game here is like 20 plus
Pretty
years,
much.
so they all have really long history, a lot of different characters and franchises in there.
Man, it's busting the package down.
And trying to get the
And
gist
that's a
of it,
water
seems like
bottle.
what is that
I've
saying
been
that they have so
drinking
many
nothing but
different
water
franchises
already.
that they're
all
able to
fucking
get
day
lots of
since I woke up.
requests
I've been
into.
sweating.
And they say what
I
they're
don't know
doing,
why I've
right?
been
It's
sweating.
like we have so many like IPs ready to go. It's like we listen to the fans and then throw them in here.
I was talking about Shiki at the
Yeah.
moment. One of my favorites. Sam Show, right?
Yeah, she's very, very popular.
Doesn't Fighting EX Layer has rollback?
So I think this is saying, and this is another important topic. You look at the lineup, it's a bunch of older
Old men, right?
characters,
yeah.
right?
Sam Show didn't have any cute girls on release.
Right, and you got to think of
Yeah.
balance in that regard as well. They're talking about Wanfu.
Yeah,
in
Wanfu's the
particular,
big,
right?
the Chinese monk guy.
With the big sword, right? I
No,
believe.
he's got the big pillar. He's
Ah,
got the
pillar, that's
yeah.
right, in
He's
the
like the
beats.
grappler there, yeah. So he's like, man, our lineup is all just dudes. It's old dudes, man. We got to get some cute girls in there. So that's kind of what Capcom mentioned too about balancing your roster and seeing like what you needed here.
That's always tough for us too, especially because the player base is quite divided on
Yeah.
whether they want really cute.
How
girls
long
or
is
they
this,
want
do you
more
think?
realistic buff fighters.
I think it's
Hard to
gonna be
please everyone in that
about
aspect.
an hour to 2 hours.
So
Is this Daisuke at the
yeah,
moment?
Lord Daisuke.
Make us wait for these
Daisuke Bless, but he's saying the
announcements.
first thing they decide is how
The
many
number of
characters,
characters, right?
Like how many characters can be in the game, and then after you have that kind of limitation, then you can decide who,
Right.
and, like what type and everything. So again, he's talking
All right,
about
let's get
the same
balance
thing.
real.
Yeah,
The same thing that SNK
Wow,
mentioned.
we're gonna
Yeah,
get
you gotta make
from
sure
Bandai
it's not
Namco.
all
We're gonna
dudes
get
and
3v3 Naruto, Dragon Ball Fighter type
archetypes and stuff. Yeah.
fight game.
I would
this is
rather
a
a
good
My
topic,
Hero.
Too. He's saying you really have to think about the looks
Well,
of the
that's too
character,
damn
how popular
bad.
on that, and then the popularity of the
Nah,
playstyle.
fuck
Because
Naruto
they're not
fighting
necessarily
games now,
all
bro.
the same.
He also mentioned, the
I'm
ease of
sick of
playing,
Naruto
too.
fighting
You
games.
don't- you
There's been
can't
too many. I'm tired of them.
play 10
Well, that's too
super
damn
duper
bad. You get
play
another one.
characters, right? You have to have
And
some
then,
Nah,
technical,
fuck that.
some
I ain't
are
buying it.
easier to
then we get
play.
Battle Station DOM2
That's a very good topic. We're going to spend the whole
because
time on
nobody
this
knew about the game outside of Japan. So
They're gonna cut it.
it's basically Smash Brothers but for anime games. We getting that too.
You know we're getting Mugen for console.
Mugen for console, yup. Powered by Steam.
So yeah, all of those factors that they're taking in.
You can only buy it on
The
Origin.
new ideas that they have for new
What are you
characters.
talking about? You talking about that on Ouya
existing roster,
and
right?
Stadia.
To take opinions and they have
Oh,
to be
by the way, the
able to
Ouya 2 getting announced on this stream.
I think now.
Brought to us by Sega this
Come on,
time.
you gotta
NVIDIA Shield 3, they just skipped the 2.
Right.
really soft here, saying we should probably move on to the next topic, right?
We're getting the Dreamcast 4, Buster 2 and 3.
It's tough though. I mean, I'm glad I'm not.
And it's
in
not
it.
even
I
its
mean,
final
this
form.
round, we can just be like, hey, come on, let's
Nope.
go, but you can't.
No,
just
if you had to say the wildest thing that we gonna get tonight, what would you say it's gonna be?
Oh, this is one of those difficult ones.
I have no idea what you guys
Well,
are even
what
talking
does he got
about.
here?
What's getting it? Oh, well, welcome, 585 Fighter.
You don't know who this is?
On today's stream, we are talking on today's Japan Fighting Games Roundtable, where great studios such as SNK, Eureka, Capcom, so on and so forth.
Oh, they're
Are
bringing
Oh,
crossplay
I'm on
features.
stream.
Yes, what's up, motherfucker?
They're bringing crossplay
Oh.
features to certain games.
Hey.
Well, to the
Crossplay
games
to
that have
Dragon Ball
crossplay.
Fighters.
And then he said, well,
Please let it be Dragon Ball Fighters. Oh my god.
The games that will are released on both and not just PlayStation and Switch, because oh my god, they put crossplay on PlayStation and Switch. Switch players are getting mobbed.
Especially if they do anything with SNK heroines. That's over.
Oh, dude, if BB Tag is crossplay, I am going online, like right now, and just mopping.
Higher up positions. Now he's in charge of the whole team, I believe.
I didn't know I was on stream. I thought I was.
Oh, you
But
turned
it's
it
the
Sitting here.
future.
I was just
It's
sitting
the
here eating my
future of
watermelon.
crossplay. So we're probably not going to get crossplay on the current games, but probably in future games. I mean, if Tekken does another season, I could see Tekken probably adding it in.
Circumstances.
Maybe, but
Saying like every
Now we're getting
fighting game is
crossplay
different ways
with
they
this
connect
gen
online
and
too.
next gen.
So
We're
you're
getting
saying
super
everyone besides
crossplay.
Capcom, but hold on.
nah, that shit ain't gonna happen.
The
That's
future of
So it's not
crossplay
really a technical barrier.
Yeah.
features.
I'm
Oh, okay. So we
kinda
got some.
curious
Oh, we
to
got
see what he's gonna
SNK
say
in
from
here
Mhm.
and Capcom.
Mhm.
Oh,
Instead
we
of the
got two
PS3,
Capcom
Xbox
people.
One error,
SNK or KOF is only announced for
he made
one
a
system
PowerPoint
now,
presentation
so
saying he wants to do crossplay and approach
these crossplay things won't be for every game. Like I said, I can already see it. It's gonna be on certain games.
They're all doing
Let's hear them out real quick.
and to compete with them, he wants to open up the platform. But he said the first parties were. They would say to him, "Yeah, well, we want to do it."
That's
Yeah.
very.
Like Phil Spencer from Xbox, he was mentioned by name, was like, "Yeah, sure, man, let's do it."
I think it's kind of a sad ending here.
And we're open about it. We want to do it. And he said the Sony person point of contact changed,
Yeah.
but he was like, "Yeah, we would like
Let's do it. Let's do
to
it.
discuss it.
Yeah.
Discuss it."
Yeah.
So yeah.
They're all sounding very kind of receptive of the
Yeah,
idea,
exactly.
but it sounds like it's gonna.
But there's a lot of things that you have to overcome, especially like a free-to-play game where you have a huge audience there.
Yep.
A lot of times we see them open up the gates to that crossplay. But for package, like a download version of a game.
So
What are we saying?
is that crossplay has like the barriers and everything, but
Well,
if
we can't really tell what they're saying.
free-to-play game is naturally going to have a much
No,
higher user base
bruh.
than
The translator kind of froze up on what he was saying. He was like, "Oh, so with downloaded games, should be able to." I'm like, "What? What are the downloaded games?"
The other games. So yeah, it's not like you mentioned earlier. It's not a technical issue so much. It's more like the first party, the.
I think this one's more important. What he's talking about now is, each platform has their own ID, the PSN ID, the XLive ID.
There's another one too.
And to connect them, there's a lot of things you have to do. I can't believe he's going into this much detail, but he's talking about you have a central server where you've got to take, like, if I'm on PSN and you're on XLive, we have to go to some server outside, and they give us an ID that isn't matched. Well, it's not tied to either of those platforms, and you kind of tie the XLive ID to that ID and my PSN to that ID. And so, like, the server infrastructure and the security protocols and stuff like that.
Yeah, he keeps kind of saying like we can do it. Like I think the underlying message like we can do it, we can do it, we can do it. It's the first party, it's the consoles, the platform companies here. They have the difficulties that kind of prevent this.
Robert Terwilliger says, "Roundtable, you
Bro,
motherfuckers
that
play."
message got me dying.
You play like 4 fighting games. Stop it.
And he's from the
That
player's
message is
perspective.
hilarious.
Hilarious.
Well, obviously you can do it, right?
Yeah, like other games do it. Why can't we do it?
Terwilliger.
So he realized the expectation is going to be quite high.
4 fighting games. He must have been around only at the beginning then.
This is not just even though it's Harada talking about Tekken. This is not
Play
just
it all,
a
motherfucker.
lot of games are like this. A lot of
Name a fighting game. We've played it on the
companies have
channel.
the same problems.
That's like current gen fighting games. We've played them all on the channel.
He's saying he's going to try to approach the first parties a bit more on this topic.
Yeah, so earlier on when he gave that long speech, where he basically was saying he already tried.
Alright, so Max is breaking it down on his stream as well, since I got his stream and our stream up. So it seems like the only way to make this doable is with their own servers. That's why there's the Capcom Fighting Network and shit like that in fighting games. Like, that's the only way to make this possible, if they were to do it.
He says he also thinks
It's
it's very important.
pretty important, yeah.
So what makes a difference for, like, I don't know, a shooter or a battle royale to have
And
crossplay
also
and make it
saying
But then again, if you think about it, COD has the whole Activision COD thing, like when you sign in and shit like that. Like Epic has the Epic sign-in, like they do their own servers in order to make it
COD has
crossplay.
Activision servers now. With Blizzard.
hmm
So how are you going to have
Those
a
are
game?
way bigger
What are you going to
servers.
do to make
Like Tekken doesn't have that right now. Neither does Soul Calibur. Like Bandai Namco doesn't have that. Arxis seems to be starting it with Guilty Gear, but Guilty Gear is only a PlayStation game.
Okay, I see what you mean.
To actually work out.
Yeah. That's a good point. Like, if you're going to do a crossplay game, do you design the game for one system and then just try and add it on? Or from the start, do you design a game that's going to be, you know, equal and easy to play across all platforms there?
Like MK is like they added the crossplay, but it's only in like certain features of the online. Like the whole online experience isn't crossplay.
Among platforms, and you know, if that's something that.
Well, yeah, you can't do King of the Hills.
Yeah.
Stuff
Exactly.
Like that.
They're all saying, like, Daisuke and Pachi both said, yeah, this is something we definitely want to do. Everybody, of course, we want crossplay, but it's not that simple, right? It's not.
So you can tell here that
simple.
you know there's a lot of thought being
Yeah.
put into it. It's not that they just like whatever, we don't want to do it.
There's still a lot of little hurdles here to get good crossplay.
So just saying, like FPSs, you have many different input configurations, I guess you say, right? And maybe that's kind of one way to work around for some of these problems, to provide more of those for fighting games. But then, you know, figuring out those fine details is something that takes a lot of time as well.
But yeah, right when it looks like he's gonna get cut off with time,
I'm just hoping for Capcom versus SNK4.
That's not happening. They already said at the beginning of the stream, like, no questions regarding Capcom versus SNK. They're not going to answer them.
They need to just let it happen.
Yeah, because he was just
Thoughts about
mentioning.
arcade controllers, right?
It makes so much money.
About arcade controls, what is this going to be about?
It would, but Capcom and SNK,
Arcade controls good or
like, the
bad?
reason why we haven't seen another, they haven't been, like, that tight anymore.
Arcade sticks, right? Like,
Yeah.
fight sticks.
But it looks like they're done with crossplay talk.
So this is Oda-san.
Okay. I guess this is very, yeah.
It ain't not that
This is
close
one of
because
the
Capcom
kind
went
of
to shit.
legacy things of fighting games is
Yep.
this culture of fight
But then
sticks.
Capcom got their shit
So he's
together.
saying, too, that he, you know, because some of the old SNK games came very,
I mean,
very
if you call
difficult,
milking
very
Street
high
Fighter
execution
5 for everything
back in
that's
the days.
I
worth.
wouldn't say that. Like,
Yeah.
PS3, 360 era. Like, that's when Capcom got back on their shit.
Culture of arcade sticks.
What, from
But I think
Marvel?
What he's trying to convey though is it's
Marvel
these
3,
things
you
is
remember
something
that
that
announcement? That shit was
kind of,
huge.
convey
Yeah, it
to
was
later
huge, but
generations, right, to kind of preserve
they
that.
I
still
mean,
were
the
low on
game was
money.
good. Oh, well, it was decent. But then they fixed
Game was
everything with
broken.
Ultimate MVC3.
Oh, they didn't fix everything, but they fixed
They
a
didn't
lot.
fix everything, yeah. I mean, the game needed more updates. Like, it's got more updates than fucking MVCI.
That game needed updates like every 2 weeks.
So the
He's
talking
talking about, you know,
They just
we got
weren't doing
driver
it.
updates and all that on our side to make sure.
What else did they do?
Then even,
Street Fighter Cross
he's
Tekken didn't do
mentioned the
well.
decline
Like,
in,
that game, the whole gem
Yeah,
system
they're
fucked
going
that game
down
up.
as well.
And the
Yeah,
DLC
but they had
practically.
Ultra Street Fighter 4 come out for that.
Ultra Street Fighter 4 saved Capcom.
Yeah.
He wants to tell you something, but he's like, we're entering
Same
the
thing
era
with Street Fighter 5. I would say
the
Season
arcades
3
and
saved
arcade
Capcom.
controls will the game phase out. Now Harada says, Nishitani, say something. All right, Nishitani, go ahead.
He's like, yeah, I got this. He's got it print out for everyone, huh?
He's good.
Nishitani-san is just saying he.
Why is Harada just clowning everyone?
Because, you know, he kind of grew up in the arcades.
Yeah.
But he's saying that newer generations, they're starting off on
What
controllers or
was
gamepads.
Season 3? Oh, when they added Sagai.
Fighting games have pretty,
Bro,
They
G
added
was the thing that
Sagai
changed.
and Blanca and
G
Sakura.
changed fucking Street Fighter 5. Like, G changed the dynamic because we finally had a character that was completely different. Like, I could say the same for Manat Season 2. Like, Manat Season 2 was completely different as well.
He's saying like all the guys here, you know, close to 40 or over, so they all.
We need
probably
more
start
characters from
getting
Capcom like that. Like, Seth and Gil
most
are
of the
kind of like that as
bases
well.
towards gamepads now, and they seem to be doing quite well. So maybe it's not going to be a big problem. But he feels that maybe half is on Game Pass at the moment.
He said when you got to tournament, you see everyone using an arcade sticks. You might have that idea, but he said he feels like half people are on pads, and then Harada said more than half, right?
Right. I've even noticed that with Tekken. You know, people when we were having arcade only
I don't know, the whole
tournaments,
Capcom thing
some
is
people
just...
couldn't actually join, especially a lot of the foreign players.
Capcom
because
thing
they
is
could only play
hilarious.
on pad, right?
That happened a lot for the Japanese invitation.
Like, I mean, the only game I really want to hear from, well, 2 games. I need them to tell me BB Tag's not dead,
USB ports on a special
and I need to see
version of
something from
Tekken
Tekken.
for 1 or 2 of them. Now,
I'm really counting on Dragon Ball Fighters. I think we'll at least get a trailer.
If it's Roshi, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care.
Roshi?
Dude, I don't care. I do not fucking care. If it's Roshi related, I don't give a fuck. You better lock that shit back in the vault and just leave the fucking chat. Like, I don't give a fuck.
Damn, why are you so angry?
I just want the next
Because Roshi is a shit fucking character and a waste of a slot. Like, don't give me Roshi. Give me fucking... I would take Kaba. Like...
Mr. Popo. Popo from the Bridge series, though. It's got to be that version of Popo. Just make him a complete, just horror character. It's mad scary.
Give me Pycon. Give me a character people actually care about.
I think that kind of like the rapid button presses and things
I don't want
like
any more Gokus.
It makes you feel
Same. I don't want no more Gokus. Roshi is basically old man bald Goku with a beard.
Blow our minds. They need to just give us baby Vegeta.
I will definitely take baby Vegeta.
They need to
I would
give
take
us
a baby Vegeta. I would definitely take a baby Vegeta.
Or even like Omega Shenron.
I was just about to say that. Like, give me a character people
The 2
would fucking care
GT
about.
characters actually want, since they're not going to give us Super Saiyan 4.
They're not going to give us Super Saiyan 4 or Super 17. They're not going to do it.
Not about Super 17.
They had a chance to give us Super 17 and they didn't do it.
I miss Tenkaichi so bad.
Same.
Game had all the characters. They didn't care.
You don't even think about it.
Nah, this canon too. I'd want baby Vegeta at least.
The esports
I
era.
still want Dr. Jerome.
So your pad or your controller is similar to like your tool if you're an athlete, right? Like
Bruh, let's talk about it.
racket or whatever.
Let me break it down. Dr. Jerome.
Android 19.
I think that's kind of interesting about the possibilities that might come of that.
Man, give me Android 16.
I never liked that,
No,
man.
not Android 16. Give me Android 14. Fucking purple dude.
He's talking like maybe even you should have different formats.
I
Like,
disagree
Does
with
that even do anything for you?
one
Not
allows
anymore.
like anything with the tool, but we know all about this, right? The
But, yo,
sentiment.
imagine Dr. Jerome with his own powers that is a new character.
One is more
But,
limited, right?
apparently his mechanic would be that he could absorb 1 bar of energy, or at least even a half bar of energy from the opponent. I think that would be fucking lit. So he just grabs some
Kind of not gonna do much though, because how fast you can earn half a bar? You can earn half a bar by just dashing at someone, bro.
True. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
you
proof
can
on that idea, but what I'm just trying to say is I think that sort of mechanic would be interesting to have in the game. A grab kind of synonymous to what Android 21 has, but it
I see Taro being slow as fuck too.
I don't. Not at all.
I see him being slow, because he wasn't fast in the fucking anime.
I didn't say he was gonna be fast. I don't see him being fucking Android 16 slow.
And he got his shit waxed. Like,
16 slow.
go hard.
He's trying to have a serious discussion, and Harada's like trolling him heavy.
You see Pac just trying not to look at the screen, or he doesn't make eye contact with his boss there.
What did Jiro do besides sit in the back and monologue while other people fought, and then lose an arm, and then get his head smashed?
Like, how many photos do you have?
Damn, my man is shit. My ideas.
He said he doesn't have everything.
They could add
I'm just saying,
Android
he did it right.
13. Well, high key.
They could add 13. They could add Bojack. Like, characters that people want, they're not going to add. We know that. They're only gonna add
Janemba.
mainstream characters.
They add Janemba. Heard.
They did add Janemba for the fans, but then again, like the anime Dragon Ball
That was
Heroes
the
is bringing Janemba
stupidest
back.
freaking thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
The fact that they added Janemba. Ooh,
I want
that guy
fat
had
Janemba.
one PSP game. Nobody want to see him.
He was in a movie that brought Gogeta.
I don't want.
And that's honestly the only reason why they brought him back, because of fucking Fusion Reborn. They were re-releasing that in Japan for the fucking Broly movie.
Put my boy Super Bull in there, and then we're all set. We're even.
Oh, there he is. Yeah.
Super Boo would have some interesting
He would have some shit.
properties.
He would have some shit. He would be ridiculous.
Mr. 90. Mr. 90's in the building. He can hear us. I don't know if we can hear him. I think he's connected via microphone. It does say he's muted. Thank you for being here.
Oh, it says he's muted.
Yeah.
So, what are some new possibilities? Maybe like, how does AI maybe affect it? Maybe there's some kind of interesting possibilities there.
He said also, like, up until now, we just kept doing the same thing over and over and over again for fighting game. So,
I'll be right back.
Yes, sir.
rather than Ishitari coming up with ideas for the future by himself, it's like this is the
Oh, you got a
this kind of
sub
group
or a
discussion,
resub.
So let's have everybody.
No, that's not you.
But it's kind of like poker, right? It's like, do you really
I'm on the wrong.
Hold on, hold on.
I got like 3 streams open right
Where's
now.
the Blanca though? Oh, he is the Blanca.
Yeah, he's got it.
I gotta get rid of some of these, so I'm not watching them all.
And is Moche-san gonna give us his opinion?
You got a reason.
No.
Please matching, of course, right?
I lied.
Experience there. But he's not from a development background.
So as mad as Jay was about Rochi, I'm gonna be that mad if it's Hercule.
If that experience
I'm
is
so
bad,
Ah!
you'll-
I don't want to see Hercule ass in there either.
Bruh, like, turn that shit
Hercule?
off.
Mr. Satan, bruh. No hate on him.
especially.
Come on, man.
Currently, we have
Hating on Hercule.
Bro, I'm hating, bro.
based on
The
their
armbar
skill,
mustache.
Alright, I'm back.
Bro,
I heard someone say Hercule, and they better not put Hercule in the fucking game. Why y'all bringing up all these trash ass fucking
Bro,
characters? Like,
first of all, you coming back mad before you can even know what the situation was. I said, as mad as your ass was about Roshi, I said, if they bring Hercule, I'm gonna be that mad too.
You don't have to be that good. You can just kind of grind and go up here. They keep mentioning.
Yeah, just gonna
bro,
see
I would
the whole
take
stream
fucking
just gonna be like,
Bra
boom.
over fucking Hercule and fucking Roshi, and she ain't even do shit.
The concept is something we come up with.
She didn't do shit but charge her parents' credit cards.
Exactly. It has some weird ass incest thing with fucking baby Vegeta, which was fucking weird.
At your level where
What?
Yeah, y'all forgot about that, huh?
Oh, see, you one of them GT motherfuckers. I barely watched GT to even know.
See, I caught GT every now and then, and every episode I caught was always a weird ass fucking episode. Like the one when Goku's fucking tail was stuck in his ass and it looked like a fucking turd and the fucking robot was pulling that shit. Yeah, bro. I always caught the weird shit on GT.
Man said, see, nah, it's not my fault. I wasn't looking directly at the GT, so it's nothing wrong with me. I was looking at it from the side.
And the IBM guy said, if you have
Bullshit.
enough data points, maybe.
Alright, what will be the user experience in future fighting games? So they're talking about rollback.
The real time, the need.
Alright, so I just came back. I guess rollback's the discussion, and judging by Max's face and how he just rolled his whole goddamn head, not just eyes, it's not a good discussion so far.
From both sides, the CPU or whatever you're using has to compute all that and then output it in real time, right?
We don't know how to do it. We need to outsource. Please help.
At this point,
That's what they need to say.
I swear they know how to do it, it's just they don't want to do it.
Right now it's difficult, but he's like, in the future, this could be something that comes out.
Guilty Gear Sign has rollback, so they obviously know how to fucking do it. Fighting EX Layer has rollback.
Mochi-san was talking more about how to more effectively match people using AI.
Doesn't Street Fighter 5 have it, but it's bad.
They did, but then they didn't. Like Street Fighter 5's netcode is weird. Like the beta had rollback.
Maybe you don't know.
That's probably what you're thinking of. The beta for Street Fighter V
I
had
was
rollback.
going off of what Matt
Barely
said
let you
in
in
the
and
video
kind of
version.
feel good about your experience.
I mean, other games too.
And
He
then
said
it
Street
got
Fighter V
modded
was
to have rollback.
I've seen that.
Either way, he had said it was a bad example of having a rollback.
FPS games.
It was.
Have it. Fighting games don't have that yet. But yeah, developing that would be hard. Because right now, still,
Apparently, they're fixing AI in fighting games, which is good.
It's not
doesn't feel like fighting
a
a
perfect
person.
replacement for a person, yeah.
Oh my
So now he's saying
god.
that it has to feel really human.
Yeah, that's
Oh
my god,
Christ,
what's
just
happening?
announced Tekken shit.
Feels like they're just doing random things, right? They're just doing random moves and stuff.
He said Hachinen, he said, I think?
Yeah, he said 2008 he made an online game in China, and
Oh, but the player base soon realized it was
That was
AI and
AI,
not an
yeah.
opponent.
I mean that was a long time ago, right?
Yeah. But the feedback from the players wasn't that great on that. Because people really wanted to defeat real
Yeah,
human,
you want
right?
to feel
Not
like
an
you
AI.
beat a person, right? You feel like you want to. So, are these guys? They're coming out and saying that they're gonna lie to the player base. Is this what they're coming out and saying? That in the future,
Hell
you're
yeah.
not gonna know if you're fighting. It sounds like a.
Could
They'll never even know that they're fighting
depends on
an
how you enjoy
AI.
the game, right? If it has
Dude, that'll be
human opponents,
dumb
or
if they
just
try
want
to
really
incorporate
exciting
that in every
match,
fighting
it
game in the
depends on
future.
the player
That'll
Sell
be
the game.
dumb.
Sell the game. Send it.
But
not what they're saying at the moment.
what
That'll
that
be
said overall,
fucking
there's a really
dumb.
important point is, if you go back
In fighting games, if you're fighting an online opponent and then they DC or quit the match, it'll replace your human opponent with an AI. So an AI will be playing instead.
They're too high level for you. So that's what this is coming
No,
out.
okay, that's not necessary.
That
Just fucking
sounds dumb.
just end the
KI
match.
apparently did it for a bit.
Yeah.
Like when KI first released, they did that before they cut it.
Touching on AI now. They're saying that debugging.
They cut it because people hated it. Like, I don't want to fight a shadow person. I want to fight an actual fucking person. If they quit, give me the fucking points. Like, fuck that person.
Around like the fighting game debugging area, then he's like maybe having a good
It's like
AI computer in the future could definitely be something.
That's another thing they need to
That's
do is
like
give people
Madden.
the points if someone fucking quit. Because if someone quit, they count that as just a DC match, and you don't get the points for that shit. Like, that's stupid. Like, you don't gain or lose points, but you should gain points from that shit.
Maybe I don't know if it's
That's what the
debugging to,
online
take
of
out,
Madden used to be like. They
bugs,
took it
right?
out.
But more, I think he's trying
Like,
to
a DC is different from someone quitting the fucking match, and they need to have the game judge the difference. Like, that's what they need to fucking do.
It's about keeping that level.
If someone DCs because their connection spikes or something, that's not their fault. And that shit fucking sucks, because I've been on the end of that.
People on our team that you might think
But
they're bad, the way they
if
play.
someone quits, like, actually goes to the dashboard to fucking quit, like,
Yeah,
there
dude.
needs to be precautions for that
This
shit.
dude SDZ I play often, and I feel that way
I mean,
sometimes.
Tekken's like that. Right?
Exactly.
You're gonna do that punish, right? It's a very calculated game.
Like, the only game I can say that does that is Dragon Ball Fighters. If you DC in Dragon Ball Fighters playing online, it doesn't count against you. But if you quit, like straight up dashboard and quit, your name becomes purple. Like, and the world sees that you're a fucking rage quitter.
What game?
Dragon Ball Fighters.
The name
That's
itself, not your square, right?
No, not the square. Your name itself is purple for the world to see that you're a fucking rage quitter.
What he's saying is kind of something I felt in real martial arts. He's saying like
That's why my name's
if
purple.
the higher up you get,
Yo.
the smaller the
Okay.
yourself, right? You wait for the opponent.
That's why my name
Which
is
is kinda like
purple.
real martial arts, right? You leave yourself
Yeah, I was
open,
wondering why
attack
my
yourself.
name was purple this whole time.
If you attack, the computer's gonna be able to punish you every time. So he's like,
I didn't even
at
do
the
anything.
high level, you end up just standing there and just waiting for them to jump an anti or something like
But if you
that.
play fighting games, I think everyone's experienced this at one point, where you have that opponent who doesn't come at you, right? They
But
turtle.
that's the human aspect, right? Is like you have to put in that surprise or something. You have to do that random jump or something. But if you fight against an AI that doesn't get surprised, it's not gonna work like that.
I can't wait to learn more Japanese.
So you're talking about how making.
I'll be on the streams like, hey guys, this is what they said. I'm about to tell you. We don't even need the audio. Japanese?
Genocide
Hell
Cutter,
yeah.
right? Which is Rugal, I
Yeah,
believe, right?
Genocide Cutter right there. But SNK is known for that, right? The famous old bosses that are like perfect, right?
brutal,
they read
right?
every one of your inputs, right? They just murder you.
It's going to take
So,
forever for them to get to the
it's like, yeah,
announcements.
if we want to program that, we can. But that's
First
not what
hour
they
was
want. They want
just
to make
them
something
catching
that
up.
feels human.
Yeah.
First hour is basically Harada explaining how he brought all this together and how he's the god and show about him.
There's still a lot of improvements we can make to
Bow to your sensei.
So Okuba's, sorry, Otis.
I don't know who it was. I forgot who it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
I don't know if it was UJ or Dan.
From business, when they're
But
doing it, you have to kind of keep in cost.
so I randomly
reduction,
started
things,
playing
it's
Android
kind of
21.
balance it. You do have to take
Oh
it into
boy.
effect if you're in their position, right?
It's Jay.
No.
Jay's
Yeah,
in
it's
it.
me. If it's Android 21, it's me.
She's dirty.
Capcom, why don't you give me some stuff?
I love her.
She's a dirty, dirty girl.
She's great season 3.
She is
She's a
nasty.
grimy fucking. No, I'm joking.
I've known, like,
Last time I played her, I fought Dan and I did one combo. The second command grab where she grabs you and just like punches you to the fucking corner. And Dan was like, I've never seen that shit before.
Yeah.
Not secretive or protective guy. He's all about raising everybody up.
Her layers are ridiculous. If you hit your assist.
And he's exception, not in the rule.
The fact that you can get like full power up off one combo, it's like what?
Yeah, you can
And
fucking
then when I
get
get
2
the
stocks off
knockdown, I
one
can do
character in a combo. And she can carry her own combo if you fucking do the command grab to steal a stock, then fucking drive them to the ground, jump up, and just keep the fucking combo going. Like, she's fucking ridiculous, season
And you
3.
can get a re-jump.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things that the company expects
Character's
of us
stupid.
producers, right?
Yeah. So it's like when you make a new game, if you like whatever Dead or Alive 4, and then you're gonna put out 5.
Now they're talking about simplification of fighting games and countermeasures. They're not making fighting games easy anymore. Thank you.
Tackle that? And everyone's like quiet.
I want an Italian sub.
That's one of the hardest parts of our job.
Yo, this man came out cut. Like, yo, I'd be fat right now.
So let's see. Nobody wants to give an answer.
When he just threw it to Ishiwatari-san and Harado's like, you gave it to the most
Oh,
complex
I got
fighting
the
game
name
system,
back
right?
up there.
He said, fighting games no longer easy. You know what? Let me get something to eat. I need to digest this.
He would like to know as well.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
They ain't talking about
Software.
netcode? I think that should be like a topic of discussion for 30 minutes, at least.
But Strive is coming.
No, the only thing they
Mandatory.
said for netcode was,
So
I don't even know because it was a short-ass discussion.
They basically said this is how you
That is
should, this
not
is how you
good.
could do it, dog, but we really
That's
don't.
not good at all. Oh boy.
Yeah, they didn't have a discussion on netcode. I mean, the thing for fucking crossplay wasn't even big. They just said, like, yeah, in order to do it, we'll need servers. And then it's like, well, some of your games are only on one system in PC. So, like, and they already have crossplay. The only game that doesn't have crossplay over here is fucking BB Tag.
Will this make it easier
Dragon Ball Fighters
to
don't have
game, or is there some
crossplay.
other things that are important here?
I mean, the ones that are on PlayStation and PC, like for one system. The only one that really doesn't have it is BB Tag. Oh wait, no, not BB Tag, Grand Blue.
It allows for player growth according to how much you practice.
Make up your mind.
But then it has to be
It's Grand Blue.
easy to understand.
I was fucked up.
for Players that come in.
Right back, I'm about to grab a
So it doesn't
hoodie
mean
real quick.
It's easy. Right? It means that it's easy
It really
to
is like
understand what you
sensitive
need to do, right?
And not just gameplay too, it's just like the looking and being able to understand like just all the menus and UI and everything.
But then if you can see, if new players can see what the game system's about, it's easy to understand. But at the same time, it looks something like something's.
I don't see why this is a discussion point though. Like,
It doesn't really matter if it means cutting systems down or not.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't need to do that.
Maybe you don't need
You're
it
just
if
saying
it's
that's
fun,
not
if it's good.
the goal. That's just one.
I already feel
fighting.
fighting games shouldn't be simple for newcomers. Like when Tekken 7 added the simple fucking mode, that shit was stupid.
About Grand Blue, I think.
The way I feel about Tekken is, I mean, I play it, but it already is an intimidating enough game. You see somebody, you know, play footsie 2014.
Depth to it, apparently.
Like, it's cool that they added fucking punish training and shit like that in Tekken. I mean, it sucks that if you didn't own the season pass, you had to pay for that. Like, that sucks. That you had to learn how to play the game and pay to do that. But simple mode, I don't think should have been added to Tekken 7. Like, you hold L2 and just hit square once and your character just does the shit. That's stupid. Especially since that's online. Yeah, like, that shit is dumb. I hate that shit.
I'll let you handle this one because you're more gray and blue, dude.
The mom said, "Let me play one."
So, like you said, what happened if we
Like, I fucking hate that about Tekken 7.
Try to find a balance between.
Well, that's the point, Danny, about making games simple for newcomers. No one really learns.
No one ever really learns.
So I think he was talking about the
skill-based matchmaking.
but talking the problem in fighting games about inputting your
shooters
command and then not
nowadays.
getting it out. I think in 3D games it's a little bit different, but in like a 2D game, like if you input a dragon.
Nah, shooters be grimy though. Shooters specifically put you in games with people that spend microtransactions, so you could be like, oh, that's cool.
What's the game I'm missing here? And I didn't go Capcom, SNK, Akira, or Arika Software. What studio is KTG?
So you can put it out whenever you want, but you have to choose the
That's
proper
Koei
time.
Tecmo.
Right. Even though it's one button,
Tecmo,
the
wow.
cooldown is heavier.
Has to be
So
more intentional,
yeah,
right?
Why? How
the
did I
cooldown is heavier there.
Okay.
do it? DOA6 got left in
So
the
that's
dust, bro.
yeah, that is the.
That's what I
the
said. I don't know
difference
why
you
DOA
in
is
Grand Blue is like if you do
I don't know.
the command input, your
Some
cooldown
shooters
is a little
got
bit shorter here,
bad
but the easier one is a bit
microtransaction
longer.
problems, but
Nah, that's true. They really do.
I think the new COD kind of fixed that. But I just hate getting matched
now,
with
let's talk
sweats
about
all the time.
So
It's annoying.
yeah, the getting into the game, right? So if
See,
you
I haven't played a
remember
single
the
game.
3D
I
fighting
game of
games,
Warzone.
first
I be
gap
wanting to
between all the
sometimes,
inputs and
but
everything. So Harada's saying,
and I gave up on
yeah,
my
by
warfare. I
putting
just,
in simple
bro,
inputs in
everybody
Grand
was just
Blue,
camping. I
you
couldn't
can
stand
get
it.
right? You can get
Yeah,
I couldn't stand it.
They
It's
purposely
like-
made the game camper friendly though. Like they straight up said that they made it camper friendly.
for beginners.
So yeah,
Mhm.
there's
And
already so
everyone
many
was
people
like,
that have
"Wait,
been playing fighting
you
games
did
for so
what?"
long that, you know, there's so
Yeah,
many
I'm glad I bailed on it.
really strong players
like,
that
you did
become a brand new
what?
player.
They actually came out and said that for real, for real.
They
They
came
did come out and said that.
said-
They came out and said that when the game was being like before it released. They said that shit, and people were like, "Wait, what?"
literally a week away from being released.
Mhm.
They said they made
wouldn't
maps with safe
Yeah.
spaces.
This is not like an
Safe
easy
spaces.
answer, right? There's no
Yep.
clear
That's what they called it. Safe
So-
spaces.
get more people in
So
there,
you
or,
made a
like,
map
how
to
can we
cater to
actually-
campers.
I guess this is
Yeah, I think
the
he's
same
saying,
as before.
how do you get new
Bro,
players?
if I knew that, I wouldn't even bought the game.
They
No matter
said-
how good the
Stay on
campaign
the same
was
field,
and
right?
looked, I would have gave. Nobody.
Dude, I spent $20 on a goddamn game.
To practice
That's
in the game,
literally
just
what
to
they
have
said.
I was not buying that game, and I only bought it on sale because people were like, "Yo, you should play," and I was like, "Fine, I'll only play the multiplayer."
Harada says, like, if something is simple, it doesn't mean
No,
it's
Story
gonna
was
be
good.
good for it. Just because it's simple
Gunfight.
doesn't mean that.
No,
I haven't
the
played the
campaign
ca-
is fire.
I haven't finished the
camp-
campaign yet.
The campaign is pretty. It's godlike, low key. But
against someone who's better than you, right?
multiplayer,
An example of like fighting or
Boy.
FPS games that even if you're
Dude, there's
Let's
certain
go.
maps
Oh,
that
boy.
don't have camping, and by certain maps, I mean Shoot House. That is like the only one that doesn't have fucking camping.
shoot house and shipment. Everyone's just running into each other.
Nah, people camp on shipment. People camp. I've gone against some campers on shipment,
If
and
they
it's
get
annoying
lucky
as
enough,
fuck.
they camp. They camp. Everyone that plays that game camps if they try to, or if they have the
Mhm.
chance. I mean, if they have the chance, they're gonna do it. And that's what Warzone is. This big ass map,
Where people camp.
and people literally just sit on buildings or just sit in a room
so that you get
and wait for you to
really
come in.
involved in the game. Invested, I guess you'd say.
Like, I didn't play Black Ops, but
So, yes,
according to
it's
maps, Black Ops
topic.
has many different entries into a building, where Warzone just has one.
Yeah, there's like a couple, and you can't hear anyone's footsteps. So yeah, the game's ass.
So what was that? Only 4?
Which one's
I
that?
don't think we was it 3? I think it was 4,
Warzone.
but that's it for the discussion.
You can't hear footsteps in Warzone.
I told you.
No, you could.
No,
Ran out of time.
I swear to God, you can't.
In Blackout, you can't hear war zones, but
they'll do it
In
again.
Yeah.
Blackout,
Blackout, you can't hear Warzone.
Or no, Blackout you can't hear footsteps, but you can hear footsteps like a motherfucker in Warzone.
5-minute break, I believe.
I couldn't hear footsteps at all playing Warzone.
I remember
People
hearing
are probably
footsteps in
crouch walking
Blackout.
in.
No, I
If
could hear.
anything, by that theory, you should
My
be making less
footsteps
noise.
were good in Blackout. That's why I was so confused on how they fucked up the footsteps in the new game.
I
Like, how do you
definitely
Nah,
fuck
I
up?
always hear footsteps in Warzone.
Oh, maybe your mic setting is different from mine. I'm always complaining about not being able to hear somebody. Unless I'm just sitting still. Like,
So he's got,
if I'm running, my guy is louder than a guy that's running right behind me.
That's true. If you're sprinting in
That's just
Warzone, you're
annoying.
always longer or louder than your fucking surroundings, and that shit's annoying.
So if you're here for Grand Blue
Let's see
I
what's
was literally on
Grand
the
Blue News
rooftop.
is coming up now.
Grand Blue.
Oh, next week they said for Grand Blue News. Why are you here?
Wait.
Why
You
are
promised an
here?
announcement on Twitter, and then you
Grand
said
Blue
next week?
Saturday.
Like, what the fuck?
Next Saturday, I guess.
something to talk about
GG's.
next week.
Yo, GG,
Then what was
bro.
the point of
Why are
him
you
being here?
He wanted the clout. He just wanted clout.
Like, what was the point? He announced on, like, the Grand Blue team announced on Twitter, yeah, we're having an announcement. Their announcement is next week.
Make sure you watch to the end. And I'm telling you to make sure you watch
They
to the end.
pulled a wait and see. Wow.
Watch on
Alright,
Twitter?
so guys, we're gonna take a quick 5-minute break. We'll be back.
Like 5-minute break.
Bruh, I was about to be like, bruh. That was it. I want a refund.
Wait, that's it?
No, bro.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Yeah, those aren't my frames. That's the stream's frames. That's not like that, right?
Oh, they're actually trying to make PlayStation tournaments an even bigger thing. You get themes and shit? I should enter the Soul Calibur fucking tournament.
Battle. Cross tag battle.
What about
Cross-
cross tag?
Cross battle tag. Cross bland blue.
Oh, they're adding fucking BB tags in PlayStation tournament? I'm joining.
Cross blaze.
I'm gonna join that
Cross
tournament.
blaze tag blue. Tournament. Team. A team tournament for cross blaze black. Alright, I'm gonna stop.
That better not be the Soul Calibur and BB tag announcement, though.